We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, ready for the roll call?
Attorney Banks?
Here.
Clerk Bailey here. New member? David Westmore?
Pardon me?
We just call him roll call.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Present.
There you go. All right, first I'll start with the meeting since we're going to have a transition here shortly. The next item we'll have is the approval of our minutes from our previous meeting, as well as any other dates involved other than the prior.
We have February 21st, 2019, and then March 8th, 2019.
All right. I'll do a motion to approve the minutes from February, March 8th and February 21st. All in favor of approving of the minutes from our February and March meetings?
Aye.
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 All right. Next is we have the resignation of our J.J. Stankiewicz from the election board. And Madam Clerk, you received a letter from Mr. Stankiewicz?
Yes, I received a letter from Attorney Stankiewicz this past Monday, and he was resigning from the board. And then I also received an email from Chairman Chittister, and he has made a new appointment.
And we have our new appointment here with us today. So we're going to move right on into then we have a new election board member.
I'm Dave Walter. It's a pleasure to be here. Can you hear us okay?
Sorry.
Is that better?
There you go. So we're going to welcome him to the board, and he will step into J.J. Stankiewicz's position as the president of the board. So we welcome him and hope to continue on with long-term service.
Thank you.
So I will turn the meeting over to you.
At this time, let's see, we have the clerk's report.
So the first thing that I wanted to go over with everyone is a PowerPoint that was actually created for the County Council meeting next Tuesday, but we thought we'd give a preview here. There's packets in the back if anybody needs them. If not, it'll be up on the big screen. But it's showing the poll worker recruitment and the different avenues that we have used so far. So it goes over the goals. The goals that we had going into this election were to better educate the public about the poll workers' responsibilities, clarify what the roles were, who was responsible for what. We wanted to use technology to make it easier to apply. A lot of our machines are all new technology, so it's important that people understand how to use it. We wanted to recapture the disaffected poll workers from prior elections, and then we wanted to expand the recruitment and outreach using 21st century practices. So in order to better educate the public about the poll worker responsibilities, we completely revamped the poll worker website. So again, it goes over the roles and responsibilities, the qualifications, and the compensation. So this is what the new poll worker page looks like on the Porter County website. And so if you go to porterco.org, then /poll worker, this is what you're going to come to. It talks about the history and then how to apply. It talks about where the training sessions will be, updated compensation, and then the different ways. Some people don't know that you can be a poll worker if you're 16 or 17, so we wanted to make sure to include that. And then it just touches on different things that poll workers would do in their different roles. Talks about where the early voting locations would be, and then there's different ways to all apply online to be a poll worker. During the last meeting, it was discussed that that people wanted to sign up with their chairs, so we made that easy for them. So with the party chair, if you're a Democrat, you're going to click on that link right there, and if you're a Republican, you're going to click on the link below. Then there's some people that don't know or just would prefer to sign up at the clerk's office, so you have that opportunity a little bit further down. If you have questions about being a poll worker, if you have questions about the election process, if you have just general questions, you can go ahead and select your online question, and then again, that comes back to us, and we respond within 2 days. For the poll worker online application, it gathers a lot of demographic information. It gathers how people would like to be communicated with, and so so that's also made available. And then all of that information gets downloaded into an Excel spreadsheet for us to make it easier. We thought it was important for everyone to realize that we do admit the failings that happened in 2018. We're well aware that it was not the poll workers' fault. They needed better training, they needed better communication, and so we are trying to do that this year. And as well as just asking the poll workers to be our partner in change. And we've had a lot of positive feedback because of that. We have reached out to all of the county Facebook page, so we're very happy that we're able to utilize all of those resources. We're on the Porter County Government page, the Expo Center, Animal Shelter, Sheriff's Department, and the Opera House, and they all have substantial followings, so our message is getting across through social media. We have also been able to utilize the communication services of the county. We sent out an e-blast with the help of the Porter County Expo Center and the Memorial Opera House. You can see their subscriber list right there. And since sending out those e-blasts, we received quite a few online applications for poll workers, many of which are new, so they haven't been touched before. In addition, we reached out to the Valpo, Dunlin, and Portage Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Porter County Realtors, and are sending out emails to their members, reaching out for new types of poll workers. We have used electronic media. People, a lot of them are getting their news from different online resources, so we reach out to Valpo Life, Portage Life, and then also put it in the e-newsletter from the Portage Chamber. We do realize that there are still quite a few people that get their news from traditional media, so we didn't want to leave them out, and there will be a guest column on Sundays, in Sunday's paper, also reaching out for poll workers and explaining some of the changes that we've had. We are doing a 10-day paid Facebook ad where, again, we're going to go through the election process, the roles and responsibilities, and try to reach people via video instead of just a still graphic. A little nervous about that one. So just with emails that we've sent, we've been able to reach over 11,000 people within just 2 emails that were sent out. So when this was made, it was 78 people, but I believe we're up to 83 that we just received within the last, hour or so update. So we are getting new poll workers interested. From the applications that we've received, 33 to 42% of them have had previous poll worker experience. That doesn't necessarily mean it was last year, but some of them are returning from previous years. We've had 45 to 58% of new poll worker applicants, which is exciting to see. Students are reaching out. We did reach out traditionally to all of the high schools, but a lot of them are finding it online, and they're going through the process this way as well. And then we have the adult applicants, which are 69 to 88% of the applications that have come through. So that's a preview of what's going to happen at the council meeting on Tuesday. They like to, I go before them every meeting just to give them a recap so they're aware of what's happening in the election process and where we are.
And what's the total number of poll workers you're seeking?
306.
306.
So those are just online inquiries. That doesn't include the ones that have come through the party chairs, and that doesn't include the ones that have called in. Those are just the ones that have submitted online.
How many have you received so far from the party chairs? They haven't turned them in yet, or?
I have received the early vote and the travel board personnel from both parties, and the deadline to do that was tomorrow at noon, so they're both ahead of the game there. And then I requested to have the party chairs submit their election day workers earlier. The state gives until the April 16th deadline, but that's just 2 weeks before the actual election day, and that's after our first training course has already hit. So we wanted to get those workers ahead of time, and I asked both party chairs to have those names to me by March 25th, at least a lump sum of them, understanding that more are going to trickle in after that. And Chairman Simpson did send me roughly 90 workers for Election Day, and Chairman Chittister has told me that he will definitely be making the March 25th deadline as well.
All right, great.
Let's see. Other information about poll workers. At the March 19th Commissioners meeting, they did approve the poll worker pay increase. So the clerks and the judges will make per day $150, and the inspector $175. In addition, each individual will go through a mandatory training. In the past, some of it's been optional or online. This is a mandatory face-to-face training, and so they will be compensated $50 each for that. If they attend training and then do not show up to work their polls, they do not get paid for training. But in the same instance, if other people think that they need extra training, they are encouraged to come to more than one class, but they will only be paid for one class. Then we also were able to increase the meal stipend. It was $15, now it's going to be $20 per person. And in order, the inspector and the Republican judge will be asked to bring the election night material back to the administration building at the end of the polls. And so for that, they are going to be compensated $15 apiece. And all that was approved on March 19th. Let's see, we already went over the chairman report and that they're both being accommodating and reaching out to those earlier deadlines. For the ballots, we ordered the ballot stock, which was interesting to do this time because we didn't have to order each individual ballot. We just had to order the blank card stock and then get everything organized for the absentee, which we will in-house print. So we received 15 absentee applications, and for the deadline, the state deadline, those will be postmarked by, it has to be done by Saturday, but we're going to, take care of it by Friday, so we're not having to work on the weekends. The next item I wanted to discuss was a public test. We have to do a mandatory public test, and for that, we're planning on doing it on April 8th. We'll publish that in the newspaper and have a time for that after I get in contact with ES&S to establish when everyone can be there at the same time. Early voting information. Early voting begins April 9th. We have 4 locations that were previously approved by the board: the North Government Complex in Portage, Porter County Administration Building in Valpo, Chesterton Town Hall in Chesterton, and then the Hebron Community Center in Hebron. All the early voting sites will be open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3:30, and then also on Saturdays, April 27th and May 4th, 8:30 to 3:30. Some other updates that are good. We received our reimbursement from VSTOP. If you remember, we had a risk limiting audit in January, and thankfully the Secretary of State and the VSTOP team agreed to pick up the tab for the county workers that we had. They originally came out of our budget as hourly, so now we were reimbursed for that, and we'll have that reestablished into our fund so that we can pay our poll workers later. I did want to give a little heads up that within the next few months I will be going to the county council asking to have some funds redistributed. We have had quite a few bills left over from the 2018 general election, and so we need to put some money back in some funds to pay some other bills and be able to pay things from this election as well. So currently, we're just redistributing, but we'll see if we need to go back for something else later. I also hired 2 part-time staff members this week to help with election work. They will start on April 1st. And then, the commissioners also approved to have Metro come and pick up all the old equipment, so we're going to get our storage room back to be able to fill it with some of the new equipment, and so our equipment room won't be so tight. I have a couple of resolutions that we'll need to pass. One is the certification for the voting system and the electronic poll book inventory. You will see on this that the deadline was January 31st, but we were in between having different kinds of equipment, and so we were given an extension because we gave them the list of all of the old equipment that was currently in our position, but the whole object of this is for them to have a list of the equipment that we're using for voting. So now that we've received it, now we just have to sign off that we have it, and I already supplied the new serial numbers to them. And then we'll have another resolution that we need to pass that's just, we approved our polling locations at a previous meeting, but that's just approving the merging of some adjoining precincts, because not everybody is in town this time, so some of the out of town is just smaller. So yeah, this will be resolution 2019 dash, I think it's 5.
I think it's,
Might be 6.
okay.
6?
Okay, let's go with, just give me a second, I'll check.
Okay.
Well, you know what, we'll get the number in.
Attaches all of the precincts, or
locations.
those polling locations that we've previously, but some of them are merged because there's just a few voters.
I think you're right, I think it's 5.
Is it 5?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Would it be an 05?
Yep, that's fine. And then just go ahead and we can move to pass resolution number 2019-05. This is for early voting, but don't sign it. We have to vote on it. Don't forget. Go ahead, make a motion. We'll be your first.
I move to approve order number 2019-05.
Second?
All in favor, say
Aye.
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 So moved.
It's
Go ahead and
approved.
sign.
Congratulations.
First one. There you go.
Okay, those are all the updates I have.
Oh, we have another resolution though,
Yep,
too,
there's one right here.
correct? I move to approve, this will be resolution 2019-06 for the county certification of voting system and electronic poll book inventory.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
So moved, there you go. Jessica, she'll hold on to that. Are you finished?
Are we
Yep, I'm done
moving
with my
to
update.
unfinished?
Okay,
Yep.
you had a lot, there. Very good, it's all good news, all very good news, very organized, much appreciated. I would make a motion, there was an issue or question at our previous meeting, mainly the motion is for clarification to, that this approved, that the election board is delegating the responsibility of the election, or conducting the election to the clerk. So I move that we make a motion that that is continuing from our last year in 2018, motion delegating that responsibility, that has not been changed, so that there's no issue that Jessica has the right to run the election. Can I get a second?
I second.
There you go. Go ahead and call it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Very good.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
And that's all I had at this time.
Then we have new business.
For ones
Are we
that
still
have-
back on our
Yeah, the
campaign
campaign.
finance
Yeah.
reports? Okay.
We are down to 16 names on our campaign finance report outstanding. I believe Attorney Conrad sent out a letter to people, or?
No,
Oh,
no, we didn't, because what happened was, is at the last meeting, there was questions about what to do. What we did is that we got, I circulated to you it was kind of a guidelines that was adopted back in 2016 that I got from Attorney Lowe. And then my thought was is that if the board wants to review that and then decide how to do it inconsistent with that, or are there any other changes that you want to do with those guidelines, I suppose we can, at this point in time, if folks haven't had an opportunity to do that yet, you may, and maybe even give Attorney Welcher an opportunity to review that. Perhaps you can.
Can you go ahead and restate what the process, that previous process was that we went through for?
Well, what you've got is, just give me a second.
After our meeting, we discussed it, a whole bunch of people turned in their forms, so I just assumed that the letter had gone out because everybody was eagerly ready
Okay.
to turn in their report.
We've got step one is the due date for the finance committee, finance reports to be filled. Step two, within 7 days of the due date for reports, voter registration compiles a list of the delinquent filers. The list is posted outside the voter registration office, and a copy is sent to each member of the election board. Step three, the election board meets within 10 days of receiving the list to review and to discuss. The election board passes a motion in a public meeting authorizing the attorney to send a notice to each delinquent committee demanding that they file a report by a specific date. The election board convenes another meeting to confirm compliance after the specific date. Step five, if any committee still refuses to voluntarily comply and file a report, the election board may pass a motion in public meeting to begin the process set forth in the Administrative Procedures Act, and the AOPA requires notice, subpoenas, hearing, and adoption of findings of fact. Step six, the county election board may impose monetary fines after complying with the AOPA, convening an evidentiary hearing, adopt findings of fact, and approving imposition of fines. So I think the question might be, if you said you've gotten, if you already have gotten several of them complying, I think we probably need an updated list of who else is still outstanding.
Is that the current list? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's the current list.
This is current.
Okay.
And again, I have a feeling that quite a few of them just didn't realize they needed to disband their account. I don't think they.
So is there a date by which you would like to have folks to comply with filing their report? You want to set a date for that?
The next time.
We probably should look at the previous process. We have a new member, give him an opportunity to review that. If you could, if board council would forward that to the board members, the previous process to be reviewed, so next meeting we could approve that process if we so choose going forward. I would propose at this time we send out a notice to the list that we have of current campaign finance reports that are needed, send out notice that they are required, that they are in danger of being delinquent, I guess, and subject to potential penalty. And that would at least, maybe that gives them the first opportunity to get notice out to get that corrected before we get to our new process.
Okay.
That's as good as it. Is that, and I'd make a motion then that the letter of notice is sent out until a formal process is adopted. That would be my motion at this time.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. So board council would send out that notice to the list that the clerk has provided, and then we can adopt the formal process at our next meeting.
Okay. And then I will, in the meantime, I will update you the procedure that you have, that you already have adopted, so you can review that.
Okay, very good.
now are we on to new business?
We
Now
are
we're on
now
new
on
business.
Okay.
business.
And that would be the Secretary of State report, and suggestions for upcoming elections. I've just gotten that report today, so I don't know if anyone here has had a chance to really digest that and would want to address it.
Did you want to address this? Did you want me to?
Well, you already made a review. Some of the suggestions that the Secretary of State made in their recommendations in the letter, we've already begun to address through the new equipment that we've already adopted. The clerk's excellent presentation today on the poll worker recruitment. That was another suggestion that the report had made, that the Porter County needs to make a better effort, as well as a better effort to train the poll workers, and we've already started on that path, and the clerk deserves the credit for that. You can add. I mean, we've addressed most of those recommendations.
Yeah,
Good.
I met with the Secretary of State, and before I had a chance to even look over the report, we'd had conversations about different things that we had going on and taking place, and different processes that we had changed. So when I sat down with the VSOP team and the Secretary of State and the rest of her team to go over the report, I was pleasantly surprised that a lot of the things that they had mentioned we were already moving towards. A couple things that are also included is that VSOP would like to be involved in the next 2 elections, so they will be on site on Election Day for primary and also for the general. They would also like to do a risk limiting audit, again, for any contest with less than 5% margin. And again, when we went through the risk limiting audit in January, it was pleasant, it was very interesting. Because of that audit, we already changed the way the ballots would be stored so that it would be easier in case anybody wanted to do another audit. So that was taken into account. They, again, recommend the central count machine. We already took care of that with the equipment purchase. They wanted to make sure that training was more organized and that there was multiple opportunities. We took care of that already, and we will be having morning, afternoon, and evening classes throughout the county, and that's already been advertised. There's a lot of recommendations, but again, a lot of them have already been addressed. The full report is available on the Secretary of State's website as well as on the Porter County website. That's all I have to say.
Announcements? I'm assuming our next meeting is April 18th. Will that be at 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 3 p.m.
And upcoming dates and deadlines.
Upcoming dates, we have voter registration ends at April 8th. The first day for early voting is April 9th. And the pre-primary campaign finance reports are due by noon on April 22nd. So don't want anyone else added to the list that we have going. So keep the April 22nd date. Those are the big ones.
Other.
So was there any questions or comments from the audience or crowd today?
The last day for absentee voting is on May 6th at noon. I'm talking about absentee in person.
The 29th is the last day you can request to vote by mail.
Mhm.
Yeah. Was there any changes from the previous election?
No.
Except for they will be counted at a central count location instead of distributed out to the precincts on Election Day.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anybody else?
Yes. They still have to register on the e-poll book in any case, So the e-poll book is updated, and there's a red line through that name saying that they already voted.
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question, I just want to make a few comments. First, I want to thank Jessica Bailey, our newly elected clerk, for being very communicative and for not only addressing the problems that were plaguing us in the last election, but also being proactive to make sure that those problems or other problems don't arise again this election. We really appreciate it. Mr. Walter, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that it's not easy to just jump into a role that quickly, so thank you very much, and I just hope that you will seriously take the responsibility that is in your hands. Seriously.
Well, thank you for the honor of allowing me to serve Porter County. I really appreciate it. Any other comments? The meeting's adjourned.
All right.